Please, don't try what you're about to see at home.
We're what you would call experts.
Well, there's your problem.
In this special series of MythBusters,
Almost too exciting.
the Dream Team tackles their dream themes.
It's scientific!
Testing myths about everything from electricity to pressure and gravity.
This one hurt a bit.
Shaking down the science of shockwaves, velocity, and impact. With crazy chemistry,
Oh my goodness.
far-out physics,
One for the whole family.
and insane explosions.
Everybody okay?
Life's burning questions answered. On MythBusters, there's your problem. In this episode, buckle up
Deal with it, Buster.
as the MythBusters delve into the sticky topic of adhesion, testing the strength of duct tape.
It's off the ground.
And super adhesive,
Ow!
and finding out if human tongues really stick to ice-cold poles. Then we go gaga for gravity to discover what it takes to levitate, survive a fall in a ball, and turn the world on its head.
Ta-da!
First, can super strong glue be used as a makeshift seatbelt?
Okay, super adhesive seatbelt. This is the idea that you can glue yourself to your car seat instead of using a seatbelt to survive a crash.
All right, we really want to give this a chance of working. Why don't we get a car with leather seats? That way we have a better bonding service.
Okay, so car with leather seats, we set up a towing system, we crash it into a wall at regular street speed. And we put one guy in a seat with a seatbelt and the other guy with super glue only and compare.
Sounds good?
Sounds real good.
Adhesion is the tendency of molecules to bond to each other. And according to the myth, if your seatbelt's not working, you can use super adhesive glue to save your life.
Okay, this is just nuts.
But we're gonna crash some cars, so that's gonna be cool.
With cars to be crashed, the guys roll out a classic MythBusters tow system,
There we go.
complete with concrete K-rails
I can't believe they continue to rent these to us.
and a car with the right stuff.
So for a super adhesive seatbelt myth, we've got the perfect car. It's got leather seats to give us the best chance of adhesion. We're gonna have two passengers. One is gonna be super glued onto the seat. The one in the other side is gonna have no super glue at all. That's our control, so we can compare the damage.
The glue-free control job goes to Buster.
Buster loves me. I've sewn them together so many times.
Buster's showing a lot of restraint because today he won't be playing the starring role.
Deal with it, Buster.
Instead, taking on the danger of the super adhesive stunt dummy will be a brand new MythBuster.
I'd like to introduce you to Buster 4.0. He is a calibrated test instrument, or better known as a crash test dummy. The way we're gonna break him in, well, pretty fitting, a car crash. You're gonna have fun. We gotta break you in somehow.
To secure him in the super adhesive hot seat, the guys stick both his jumpsuit and his rubber skin to the leather interior.
We don't recommend you do this at home.
The acrylic resin cures almost instantly, and he's all set for a 35-mile-an-hour head-on crash.
At that moment, he's gonna be experiencing 100 Gs, or 100 times his own body weight. So this guy is gonna go from 160 pounds to 16,000 pounds in an instant.
Just how strong is this adhesive substance anyway?
Each drop is over 600 pounds of force. I just don't think that's gonna be enough.
Buster 4.0 may come to a sticky end.
All right, let's see how strong this glue really is.
Grant hits the gas, towing this odd couple towards an uncertain fate.
20, 25.
Looking good.
Sure, Buster 4.0's looking good now, but for how much longer?
Ow!
Looks like he came right out of his seat and smashed into the windshield with his head.
That is a headache.
That is not a good seatbelt. Well, that's one way to break in a new crash test dummy, but you know what? The glue didn't hold at all. His head smashed right through the windshield.
There's no doubt Buster 4.0 got stuck with a raw deal.
So we got our car with the two busters up to 35 miles an hour, and he crashed straight into the K-rail. And no big surprise, the glue did not hold him in his seat. Now the buster with the seatbelt stayed in his seat, had no damage whatsoever.
Seatbelt Buster is alive, but his stuck-up buddy is down for the count. But are we sure it was the glue that failed?
Looks like the material didn't really stick to the seat, but it's not the glue's fault. The glue actually held.
Yeah, I think we should try this again, and maybe we cover with the seat with something that's a little stronger and put him in a material that's actually gonna bond to it.
Incredibly, it was the material that gave way on the seat and the clothes. So for Crash Test 2, Tori's replacing their new car's regular seat, while Carrie and Grant work on Buster.
So in addition to replacing our leather seat, we're also doing away with the jumpsuit and replacing it with this rubberized wetsuit. Why, you ask? That makes his butt look really good. To get the best possible bonding surface for our glue.
And that rubber suit will be sticking to a glue-friendly fiberglass racing seat.
This way, when we glue Buster in, we are gluing rubber against fiberglass. That's two non-porous materials, so hopefully he will actually stay in the seat this time we crash the car.
In addition, the body-hugging contours on the racing seat means there's more surface area to stick to Buster.
Ah, yeah, there you go. That's a good fit.
With the kind of forces we're talking about in a car crash, I don't think there's any chance that super adhesive seatbelt's gonna work. But who doesn't love a car crash? Let's do it. All right, this is test 2. Rubberized suit and hard plastic seat. In 3, 2, 1, go.
10, 15,
Go, Grant.
Looking good.
20, 30 miles an hour.
Here we go.
And
Oh! He looks like he just got ripped right out of that seat. Well, it's pretty obvious it didn't hold.
yeah, I'm pretty comfortable at this point saying super adhesive seatbelt, totally busted.
Once again, Buster 4.0 had a wild ride as he failed to survive the crash. But once again, we can't blame the glue.
We picked the best possible clothing, a rubberized garment to bond to the glue. And you know what? It's not the glue's fault. The glue held, it's the garment that ripped. In fact, every piece of clothing that we've tried has ripped.
Which means that to put the super in super adhesive, the guys will have to take this myth to the max.
But what we need to do is focus on the strength of the bond of the glue. And we're gonna do that by giving the glue an ideal bonding surface, 2 steel plates. One's gonna go on our dummy's back, and the other is going to go on a special new metal seat that I'll be installing into the vehicle.
By taking the fabrics out of the equation, the guys are putting the glue and the glue alone to the ultimate crash test.
This time, there'll be no clothes ripping, there'll be no seat tearing. We're not fooling around. We've got 2 identical super flat steel plates. This one is welded onto Buster's frame, and the other is welded into the car.
And those 2 are stuck together with, yep, you guessed it. But will the super adhesive finally keep Buster in the hot seat?
You know what? I'm gonna put my money on this. I think it's going to stop him from flying through the windshield.
Buster's so excited to find out what's going to happen, he's glued to his chair in every sense of the word.
All right, for a final experiment, we have the same circumstances as before.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, toe looks good.
We have one Buster just seatbelted into the passenger side, and then we have our main Buster with 2 metal plates, super adhesive glued together, sitting in the driver's seat.
Straight headed towards the K-rails.
Yeah, you know, that might have worked.
It might have worked. Well, what do you think? The plate's still connected.
It actually withstood the crash. That's incredible.
That's quite a super adhesive bond.
This is incredible. He actually held on. The glue was strong enough to withstand this shock. I'm impressed.
The super adhesive has stuck fast, and during an impact imparting 1,600 pounds of force.
Now, in theory, the super adhesive should have more than enough holding power to withstand the forces involved in a car crash. And it turns out it does. But this myth is still busted. Because unless you have a steel skeleton with a 12-inch square steel plate welded to your back and an identical 12-inch square steel plate welded to a steel immovable chair in your car, it's not gonna work for you. Please, use a seatbelt.
Well, not going home in that car.
Nope.
Next, the MythBusters are testing an incredibly versatile adhesive product, that universal engineering cure-all, duct tape. It can hold up a human being no problem.
Hey, I tell you, I could hang out here all day.
But what about something a lot heavier?
Oh, it's for real.
Duct tape was originally invented by the Army. Later on, they started to use it for heating and air conditioning vents, things like that, because they would seal it up. But basically, the formulation is the same. It's a plastic coating on the outside to seal things up. It has a fabric structure that gives it its strength, and it has a natural rubber adhesive on the inside, so it sticks to stuff.
And it's that combination of strength and stickiness that we're about to test. Can it suspend a car? To find out, Adam and Jamie are weighing in with some strip-by-strip numbers.
We need to find out how much a single length of tape will support in terms of weight so that we can determine how many we need to lift the car. Now, this is our tape testing rig. We've got one end of the tape goes on a bar on the forklift, the other end of the tape goes on this flat metal surface, and we keep adding barbell weights until the tape breaks.
80 pounds, here we go.
They're very fine.
Wow, we figured out pretty much the exact weight threshold on the first try.
Yep, I'd say about 70 pounds for a one-time lift.
So all they need now is some wide open space and a car they don't mind dropping. Might as well allow it a final lap of honor.
Let's get started.
Okay.
It'll be a simple setup. A crane like this one, and a hook, shackle, and single crossbar.
This thing right here is what we're going to attach the tape to. Now, we could run all the tape strips to the crane hook, but we'd end up with a big, messy blob. If we're going to get the most out of each strip of tape, we need to be neat and clean with it, and this will allow us to do that.
And hanging from the other end of the myth-inspiring sticky stuff will be the car.
The car weighs about 5,000 pounds. Now, each strip of tape will hold about 70 pounds. So that means we'd get away with lifting the car with around 80 strips of tape, I think. We'll call it 100 just to be safe.
Jamie, this is your conscience. It's time to start working.
There are a lot of different things you can do with duct tape. You can bind things together, you can seal things up like ducts and so on, but what we're looking for here is how sticky it is.
I think I've got it down to a reasonable pattern.
If we do our job right, and we actually are able to lift the car off the ground, that cloth in the tape is going to give way before the adhesive does.
It's starting to look like a cathedral of duct tape. That makes sense. I mean, duct tape's almost a religion to some people. Why, you ask? Because secretly, we've always wondered, and that's why we're here. We've used 99 separate strands. All right, here it is, last one. Used up 5.5 rolls of duct tape, and by our measurement, this ought to be just enough to lift this car. I think it's gonna.
It's a thing of beauty. And despite the fact the guys have done the math and know it should work, it somehow seems improbable. Can these seemingly flimsy strips coated with glue really hold the monumental weight of a car?
Let's get it off the ground.
Let's start up the crane.
The crane winch cranks into action.
This is it.
And millimeter by millimeter, it gently pulls the car skywards.
Okay, I can see it starting to come up.
Come on. Oh, come on, baby.
It's like trying to get a raise from a tight-fisted boss. But they're getting there.
He's got one wheel.
That's
It's
it.
off!
It's off the ground.
That's almost like a piece of temporary art right there.
That's kind of nuts. Why you need to do this, I don't know, but it's cool. It's holding.
That is awesome. Nice work, sir.
The math was right. And with a flight time of a minute and counting, the result is clear, leaving just one remaining question.
It's only a matter of time before it comes crashing down. It'll be just like a zipper opening up.
Yeah, as with all flights off the ground, taking off is optional, landing is mandatory.
First one went. That's 2 strips of tape that are gone now. Oh, that's 3, 4.
Oh!
There we go.
Nice!
Exactly like a zipper. Plus, just like the seatbelt test, it wasn't the adhesive that gave way. It was the tape itself.
Wow. I love how consistently it broke all the way along that sharp point.
Yeah, I don't see a single piece of tape that lost its adhesion. They all ripped right in the middle of the tape.
That's true.
Yet again, tools and materials used in ways for which they were never intended. In the case of duct tape, if you've got enough of it, you could move the world.
Not a bad way to spend the afternoon.
What's next?
Now, what about when a lick becomes a stick?
I know that one. That's the one where you stick your tongue to the pole and it gets frozen in place.
Who's gonna do that?
Well, Tori, the graphics guy is about to make it look like you're the guinea pig. According to the myth, if your tongue makes contact with a metal pole, you're stuck.
So how are we going to test this one? Because I think it's true, and I don't want to do it.
Don't look at me.
I'm not doing it either. I say we build a tongue analog, and then we'll get a freezer truck and a pole, and we'll test it that way.
Okay, well, whatever we use for the tongue should be just like a human tongue. So it should be warm, and it should have saliva. I think it's going to be tough.
Tough and a touch stomach churning. First, they'll have to fill this MythBusters spit tube with real saliva.
Got it on the outside.
Okay, guys, I'm going to set a few ground rules because this is a disgusting experiment as it is. Please don't add your phlegm, known as the loogie. I'm serious.
Meanwhile, Grant's boiling up an idea to warm up their human tongue analog, a pig's.
My job is to reanimate the tongue and make it warm, just like our tongues would be, hopefully to body temperature.
He connects a thin plastic tube to a small electric motor and places it inside a bucket that's filled with hot water.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's really good.
Now for some porcine surgery. After cutting the tongue in half, Grant carefully cuts a U-shaped incision around it, fits the tubing into the groove, and then sews it back up again.
No and 11 now.
That quilting night class really did come in handy.
Just like sewing on a button, except this button's tongue-shaped and made out of meat.
Next, he takes a reading of his own tongue's temperature.
Okay, 90 on the nose. So, that's my target.
And turns on the pump.
Okay, hot water flowing.
After 35 minutes, Franken tongue is awakened.
It's perfect, 88.5. That's close enough for our purposes. I think the tongue is ready for some pole-licking action.
Meanwhile, Carrie's been collecting copious amounts of real saliva. But the job is literally giving her the dry heaves. Before she loses her lunch, let's move on.
We stop it here? It's probably good there.
A refrigeration truck pulls up, normally stocked with thousands of icy poles. But today, there's just one.
Are you guys just dying to stick your tongue to it right now?
Absolutely not. It's freezing.
Time to set up Grant's pig tongue warming device.
Sloppy tongue.
Sloppy tongue, my favorite.
First, they secure the organ to a stand next to the pole.
But don't squeeze it too hard.
I know.
Man, that does look appetizing.
All right, it's at 85.
They slather the tongue with drool.
Oh, nasty!
The pole is chilled to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, or 0 degrees Celsius.
Oh, it's sticky! Okay. That's good.
So at 32 degrees, your tongue will stick to a frozen pole. Dude, look, it's starting to rip the flesh.
Oh, man!
Chunks of the tongue are staying on the pole.
Ouch! The instant the tongue touched the pole, it fixed to it like glue.
That was cool. It was like, bah.
But why did it stick? To find out, they need to use the process of elimination and remove some of the possible factors.
Maybe we can try different materials that the pole's made out of and see if the tongue sticks to those.
Well, maybe the texture of the tongue also has something to do with it. So I'd like to compare it to something smooth.
I think the main ingredient here has got to be the saliva. I mean, that's what freezes to the pole. So I want to see what happens if you have a dry tongue.
Back inside the refrigeration truck, first up is Carrie's dry tongue test.
Did I flip it over and dry it so it has more body?
Just drying a pig tongue, no big deal.
Okay. Tongue's at 80 degrees. Let's do it.
They place the warm tongue against the frozen metal pole and...
Not sticking. So the dry tongue test, no sticking to the pole. So obviously, saliva plays a big factor in adhering your tongue to the frozen pole.
Next up is the texture test. The surface of the tongue is covered in tiny protuberances called papillae. Without these bumps, maybe the tongue won't stick.
So I'm gonna just basically lick my glove and see if that will stick to the pole. Ready?
Yep.
Oh.
So your spit freezes directly to the pole, but your hand does not because it's a smooth surface.
Absolutely nothing to grip to.
Makes sense. Now for their final test, swapping out the steel pole for a plastic one.
Bye.
They fill it with dry ice to help cool it to freezing point.
All right, go.
And again,
Not sticking.
the tongue remains unglued.
It's stinking, but it's not sticking.
The reason? Plastic is about 100 times less conductive than metal, so it can't take enough heat from your saliva to make it freeze. So all three factors were a factor.
We need to have the texture of the tongue, we need to have the saliva with the water content, and we need it to be a metal pole that conducts heat really well.
But to truly substantiate this sticky myth, someone in the team has to do it for real.
Dude, who's gonna be crazy enough to stick their tongue on one of these frozen poles?
Obviously, it's Rochambeau.
All right.
Rochambeau.
Have fun, buddy.
Turns out that graphics guy was right.
It's slippery.
With pristine snow covering the ground and a brisk wind blowing, the setting for this showdown is ideal. But is the flagpole cool enough for this test?
14 degrees.
A final kiss and a reminder, never do what Tori is about to try.
You know, I'm about to stick my tongue to a frozen pole. The thing I need to remember is just to stay calm and not pull away.
I actually heard one of the ways that you can't get your tongue off if you're stuck and you're all alone and say you're out in the wild where there's a flagpole is that you can pee on it.
Cool. Who's gonna do that?
No, you have to do it yourself.
Oh, great. Okay.
Go for it.
What's the matter, Tori? Pole got your tongue? In this bitterly cold encounter, Tori managed to wrench free, but the pole still takes home the prize.
It's stuck.
We got stiction.
Diction?
Stiction. That's a word.
I know, it just sounds weird.
That stiction makes the myth non-fiction. It's confirmed. Let's detach ourselves from the adhesive theme and fall into a trio of myths about defying planet Earth's most irresistibly attractive force. Gravity. First, can you build a self-propelling levitation machine from ordinary household items? In this battle of wits and egos, Team Savage is competing against Heinemann's heroes to see who can build the best levitation machine out of parts found around the home.
The secret plans are, we're gonna do 3 pads like this. We're gonna have a leaf blower back here.
For stability, Adam's craft will have 3 connected bases, like lily pads. And he's hoping for enough upward force from a leaf blower engine.
Check it out.
Oh, yeah.
180 miles per hour, 360 cubic feet per minute.
Levitation happens when that upward force counteracts the pull of gravity and causes an object to rise and hover without any physical contact. And the plan is for one blower to provide the lift and the other, propulsion.
The question is how to mount these puppies up so that 1, there's control, 2, there's some aerodynamics, 3, there's some stability. Like, I want to be here.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Christine's sewing an inflatable skirt from a tarpaulin
Come on, machine, don't jam up on me.
that will create a pressurized air cushion base.
I feel like I'm doing crafts in kindergarten.
In just 2 hours, Team Savage have the first pad ready to test.
All right.
You ready?
It's not quite zero gravity, but the trapped pressurized air current within the inflated skirt has given this lily pad its lift.
I think that's magnificent. I think the distance is perfect, the buoyancy is great, and it's pretty darn stable for just 1 person in the center. 3 of these is going to be great. The thing is that this powers 1 beautifully, but it's got to power 3.
Adam splits the airflow from 1 leaf blower to all 3 pads.
How do you like that? That'll do.
Then fixes a steel frame to hold the pads and chair in place.
Oh, you are good.
All right, let's tilt it on its back. Oh, man, it's really heavy.
But could it be too much weight to levitate? Behind Jamie's closed doors, plans are coming along for the Heinemann hoverboard. A surfboard base with blowers at the back for thrust, more at the front for lift, and the inflatable skirt. Like Adam, Jamie has settled on leaf blowers for thrust. Before he attaches them to the surfboard, he needs to check their propulsion power.
This kind of looks like Wile E. Coyote or something, doesn't it?
This is officially the silliest rig in myth-busting history. But these funny-looking thrusters actually work. Jamie's pack produces enough of an air current for forward motion. Adam now powers up his own lily pad flyer. He's got lift. The levitation physics are at play. The upward force has canceled out the weight of the large lily pad. But propulsion is a big problem for Team Savage. Fresh from their successful test, Heinemann's heroes are working on lift.
I'm about to be disowned by every surfer I know.
Having never seen a wave, old Yella is going under the knife. This hole is for the downdraft that will inflate their skirt. And to steady the ride,
This is a nifty invention.
This is actually going to work. And what I've done is I've put some additional support on the top of the bladder where it comes out from the side of the surfboard. And that'll keep it more stable because it can't roll around the edge of the surfboard now. It's got to be compressed.
and the final component for Jamie's setup, thrusters.
You know, I kept saying that you were going to come up with something, but in the back of my head, I was going, eh.
Surf's up for Heinemann's heroes. They're cruising towards confirming the myth that a self-propelling levitation machine can be built out of ordinary household items. But for Team Savage, the lily pad is showing all the mobility of a 2x4.
You ready?
Even with the addition of a fan and horsepower from a leaf trimmer, it's going nowhere fast.
I'm out of ideas. I just ran out, just a second.
But after a little reflection time,
Pizza box wings, this is great.
comes another plan. Or some might call it a moment of desperation.
You know, I think we might have something.
The moment of reckoning is upon Team Savage and Heineman's heroes. Can their homemade levitation devices counteract the pull of gravity and suspend above the sand? They've set a course of 200 yards across the surf and sand to get the final verdict. And yes, we know this myth was for a self-propelling levitating machine. But the guys have all agreed to a last-minute concession, allowing team members to also push.
Get away from me!
3, 2, 1, go!
The Heineman hoverboard leads out. But Team Savage has pulled a switcheroo, heading into the water hazard. It floats like it flies.
I gotta lose this.
Jamie's first out of the water, but his lift engines have stalled. And the wet sand is nothing like the smooth surface of the shop floor. They're now dealing with an even heavier load as sand fills up the inflatable skirt.
We gotta go to the left around the buoy. And home, here we go.
At the turn, Heineman's heroes are closing in.
We're almost there, we're doing great.
Pushing Adam's heavy craft is taking its toll. A jockey change and fresh legs could be the difference. After doing everything in his power to fail, Adam has somehow won.
Way to come in at the last minute there. Nice. That was possibly the stupidest contest ever in the world.
Well, they both suck.
But what of the myth? Can you really build a levitation machine out of household items?
We showed that you could do it, and I actually got about 6 inches of levitation.
Yeah, but in my mind, it's not really levitation. This is a hovercraft.
Well, I'd say, for the record, this myth is plausible, but totally impractical.
Yeah, plausible, but impractical. So what's next?
Next up is a bad day for Buster. What would happen to Buster if we threw him out of a helicopter while he's inside of one of those giant inflatable hamster balls? The myth is the inflatable ball would break Buster's fall and allow him to safely leave a helicopter without a parachute.
If it turns out to be safe, can I do it?
Knock yourself out.
Not a chance, Jamie. This one's all Buster's. With the chopper on approach, the trio roll down to the runway to figure out if this crazy idea is a viable method of survival when you're thrown from a helicopter.
Shut up.
Will the cushion create enough drag force to resist the downward movement of gravity?
It's only gonna hurt for a little bit.
Generating more float than fall.
But first, of course, I'm gonna need to take it out for a spin.
So while Adam rolls around, let's take a look at the potential results of this ball's fall. The math says that the ball's larger surface area will slow Buster's terminal velocity by more than half, and it will also cushion his impact like an airbag. But will it make the 1,000-foot fall survivable? To find out, Buster's ride arrives, the big dog. With its 55-foot wingspan, the Sikorsky will be doing the heavy lifting, not once, but twice for our fall guy. First, for the control, Buster will be dropped without the ball. And on the second drop, Buster will be inside the ball as he hurtles towards this giant orange X that marks out the drop zone. His impending injuries will be measured in G-force by high-impact shock watches.
And they're pretty basic and foolproof. I'm putting 50 G shock watches on the head, and I'm going to be putting 100 G shock watches on the chest, which is what it takes to kill somebody there.
Here's how this is gonna work.
All right, Buster, here you go. 3, 2.
Buster and I in this helicopter are gonna fly to 1,000 feet.
Have a nice flight there, guy.
Thank you. Or did you mean Buster?
I meant Buster.
Okay, cool.
You don't care so much about it.
When we get to 1,000 feet,
Well, here we go.
I will then cut Buster's seatbelt, kick him out of the helicopter, and drop him on the target. That's our control to see what happens when Buster falls without anything breaking his fall.
As Buster free falls, he'll accelerate downwards, gaining speed with each second.
That is so cool.
This increase in speed is accompanied by an increase in air resistance that counters the force of gravity.
Look at that. The view from up here is absolutely magnificent.
When those two forces are balanced, Buster will reach his terminal velocity.
And we're at 1,000 feet. Okay, Adam, I'm ready. Copy that. It's time to drop Buster. First, I'm going to cut his seatbelt. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a MythBusters control.
There he goes.
That was beautiful.
Man, that looks terrifying. I think he might have pooped himself.
All right, so for our control, Buster's dead.
Well, and most importantly, the sensors worked, and if they worked in this case, they'll work inside the inflatable.
Every single shock watch was tripped with a red line, indicating a lethal impact. And no wonder. The math says Buster hit the ground at an estimated 120 miles an hour. So, bring on the ball.
So getting Buster into this inflatable and getting him all hooked up and rigged on the helicopter,
Turns out there's nothing I can't find a lazier way to do.
a little more involved than just chucking him in the chopper. It's going to be tricky.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen him do.
Now to insert Buster, who is once again covered in data collection shock watches.
There are a couple of things to consider if you're talking about the potential for one of these inflatable balls to save your life.
Come on, Buster!
The first is the cushioning. It'll help. The second is its terminal velocity, and that's determined by its surface area and its weight.
Yes! Come on, Buster! Oh.
A feather has more surface area than a ball bearing of the same weight, and so it's going to fall slower. We know that Buster by himself is going to fall at about 120 some miles per hour. We'd estimate that the ball, however, is going to fall at about 50 miles per hour.
There we go!
And there we go. Whether it's enough or not to save your life, we don't know yet.
That was awesome. Who knew that that was going to be one of the hardest parts of this story to do? There we go. Right foot.
With Buster poised, Adam takes his bird's eye seat.
Hey! We're in. All right. Awesome.
The ball is rigged to be released from the cockpit.
There we go.
Stand by for liftoff.
All right, this is how this is going to work. Buster, inside the hamster ball, will be hanging below this helicopter on a tether. Now, because this beautiful machine is made for lifting and hauling, it's got a quick release on its underside.
All right, here we go.
So once we fly up to 1,000 feet, we're going to pull that quick release, drop Buster, and I'll be able to watch his fall from right here looking down.
What a lovely day. What a lovely day.
For Buster's ball drop, experimentally, the key variable is speed on impact. And as the chopper reaches 1,000 feet, drop conditions are identical to the control.
3, 2, There it goes.
And away she goes.
Oh.
thing, Buster seems like he's a lot better off than he was without that ball. Let's go see how he turned out.
Did the reduction in terminal velocity and a giant airbag offer enough resistance to gravity's downward pull in order to save Buster's life?
Dead, 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 dead. Ah, very dead. Wow, that's the last time I jump out of an airplane with one of these things.
Yeah.
Even though the ball's largest surface area slowed his velocity to 50 miles an hour, the cushion of air couldn't slow his deceleration enough to prevent a fatal impact.
All right, it's judgment time. An inflatable hamster ball as a method for surviving falling out of the sky, how do we find?
Not so much. It's busted.
It's totally busted. Let's get out of here.
Next, can super adhesive really let you turn an entire room upside down?
All right, this myth comes from the 70s. Apparently, rock bands would go to hotels and pull these pranks. And one of the pranks was they would glue the furniture from the room on the ceiling.
Okay, the crazy part of this to me is not just the logistics, but the time restraint. They would have had to do it like overnight. We should not only glue our furniture up, but we should do it within a day.
All right, let's get to it.
All right, now we've built ourselves a room. We're gonna stage it just like a hotel. And then the fun begins. We're actually going to glue everything to the ceiling so that we can make an upside down room. Curious to see if this is actually gonna work.
So this is the room that we are gonna turn upside down. Now, it's built to code, and it has everything you would find in a hotel room. We have a desk with a computer on it. We got a light stand. We got a bed with sheets. That ain't gonna be easy. We have a coffee table with a whole bunch of stuff on that. We have a couch. There's a plant. There's a television.
Maybe some dirty laundry. I mean, this is one of our rooms.
Although it can hold a considerable mass, these lumpy absorbent surfaces are super adhesive's kryptonite.
It would be difficult to get them to stick to the floor, let alone the ceiling, and we don't have that much time. But my guess for the most difficult thing to get to stick to the ceiling, the bed.
With the checkout clock ticking, Tori needs to first stick the bed to not the ceiling, but to itself.
So what I'm trying to do is get as much glue on the mattress as possible. But even then, I don't know how well it's gonna stick.
It takes 7 bottles to stick the mattress to the base, but eventually it's set for liftoff.
All right, so this tool is normally used to lift sheetrock up to the ceiling, but we're gonna be using it to lift furniture so we can glue it to the ceiling. I bet it was never intended for that.
It's a delicate balance
There's something you don't see every day.
between letting the glue harden
Never glued a bed to a roof before.
and staying on top of the clock.
Ah, this is stinky.
Get it wrong,
All right, let's see if the glue holds the bed up.
and this myth will come crashing down to earth.
Looks pretty solid so far. Hey, hey, that is awesome.
It's holding.
You could say that's one upside-down bed that's turning gravity on its head. The couch is next to go, thanks to its nice flat feet.
I think we may have pulled it off.
The glue is now 2 for 2.
All right, go, go, go. This corner's holding.
It's a don't try this at home classic.
Nice. Next piece of furniture.
So you look at the TV and you think, no problem. It's got a huge flat base, probably got about 100 square inches of surface area to glue to, right? Wrong. This is gonna be a nightmare. See, underneath the TV, there's this whole waffle pattern. Couple that with the fact that this is an old school, heavy, tube-type TV, and you got a problem.
A problem that's going to swallow some serious time. But they can't afford to down tools, so up goes the coffee table.
Ah, my eyes are burning.
And 40 minutes later, the TV is set.
Oh, that helps.
But eventually, with all hands on deck, the glue triumphs again. Now, with no time to hang around, up goes the desk, complete with accessories.
Of course, there's a Viking helmet. We're talking about 70s rock bands.
And the shag carpet.
That's awesome.
There's even time for a few final flourishes.
Ta-da!
Before the result floors them.
Wow. This is so psychedelic.
Isn't this crazy?
Well, looks like you can turn a room upside down with glue.
And I think this is confirmed.
Confirmed, but very, very strange.
The team was able to turn this entire room on its head with super adhesive. But for Tori's sake, let's hope gravity eventually wins. And what's up comes down.
Now that all these things are glued to the ceiling, the real question is, how am I gonna get into bed?